All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you know me, you know I like to start on time. I think I figured this out. So those that log on a little bit later will just come straight into the presentation. I also have Kenny with me here in the office. So if you have any questions, just type them in and he will let me know and we'll try to answer them. But I do want to move fast. I got some cool stuff for you. I always have two special guests that I will introduce in a little while. Always like to under promise, over deliver. I am going to give you some idea on how to build a $100 million team. But of course, I invited people that have built much larger teams to show you how to do it even faster. So I'm going to respect all of your time and get started. It doesn't have to be a simple conversation today. I will probably raise more questions than I answer, but that's kind of the objective. That's kind of the goal. A lot of things moving in real estate, a lot of things happening. And I hope to show you some really big picture items and big picture strategies that you can really start thinking about for yourself and your business. And if nothing else, I want to at least open up the possibility that starting with today, you can decide that you can build a team of business the size that you have never comprehended, you may have never understood that you could. And if I do that, I think I'm going to be very successful today. I'm going to do my best to do that for you. So with that, let's jump in. All right, so I want to start with this, and this is where I want to lay the groundwork for why is it that I think all these people on this call today and basically in the industry that we're in can think that big, can think they can build a $100 million real estate team. And if you've ever spent any time with me in any classes, any training, numbers are important, demographics are important, and understanding how those things work and how we work in them are paramount. And so what you see here is estimates for total population in the country, and it's broken down into these slices. And this one that you see here is the baby boomer generation. Up until now, it was the largest generation ever in the history of our country. It was also the most, the biggest consumers of everything and anything, any service, any product in the history of the world, including real estate. The massive size of this group created the real estate industry as we know it today and sustained it for over 40 years. This group reached its prime home buying years in the mid 1970s. That's when they hit around 30, 31, 32 years old. And since that moment, they have not stopped buying and selling real estate at incredible rates. It stands to reason that that was also the time when all of this exploded, that real estate companies, massive real estate companies really came into being. This is when the Coldwell Bankers really took off. This is when Remax, this is when Keller Williams. This is where local companies here, some of you started your careers in the Contempos, the Fox and Carskadens, and names like that don't exist anymore, but have morphed into Coldwell Bankers and morphed into Interos. And what I want to show you is if you understand, or if you never paid attention to that demographic wave and how it impacted real estate and how it allowed for the formation of massive real estate companies, you need to. Because the millennials are entering their prime home buying years now, and that's this group. And if you look at it, it's a little harder to tell here, but it's a larger group than the baby boomers. And there's another thing hidden behind that. This is me, and many like me, Gen X. Baby boomers were massive, and then we were relatively small. And so they've still, even once Gen X entered prime buying years, baby boomers were still driving it. We just added to it. And so for the next 50 years, I'm telling you right now, the millennial generation, and I don't know what this one is called, are going to drive growth in real estate like we've never seen before. What's important about that is put yourself in the place of someone with a small real estate brokerage, a small mom and pop in the 1970s, mid 70s, and you were selling 10, 15, $20 million a year. And then all of a sudden you were selling 30, 40, 50 simply because of the wave of need and demand. And when you did that, larger entities that wanted to really broaden and grow their sphere started acquiring you and started building you up and building these massive operations that are nationwide and worldwide, right? You can do all that research yourself if you want to. I just don't want to spend too much time on that. Just know this is the basis for why about 4 or 5 years ago, doing this kind of research, I started really thinking about the growing force and the growing opportunity of building teams. Hope all that makes sense. This is where you want to be. I put this in here. In that time period, you had a continuum from Contempo Realty to Coldwell Banker to Intero to Home Services of America. A lot of you should really need to understand what's the tying person between all those. That was our founder, Gino Bofari. It's been done before. We have the models. We've been trained. Many of us have been trained by the very people that started this in the 70s and 80s and now have reached the apex of that first wave of real estate industry construction and proliferation. The lessons are still there. The opportunities are coming, and we can take advantage of that. All right, so I want to share this also. Here's something that I really advise all of you to look at. Go Google it, look for it, find it. And it's like a 15-minute presentation by Mike Del Prete. And it's titled, How to Lose $1 Billion in Real Estate. It's important to understand the industry we are in now, and more importantly, where this industry is trending. He talks a lot about a lot of things that I won't cover today, but I will cover where he talks about how companies have been growing, why they're growing, which ones are growing, and which ones are not. And of course, it's obvious here, he's talking about the EXPs, the Compasses, the Redfins, all team-based organizations that are growing incredibly fast. And I'm telling you, those last charts about the demographics and the coming wave of real estate transactions, everyone at the top of these companies knew that. The title of the presentation, How to Lose $1 Billion in Real Estate, refers to these companies growing at a massive rate, really, really fast, without any regard for losing money now. They don't care if they make money right now. They know what that next 50-year wave looks like. If they can position themselves even by losing money in the first year, 2 year, 5 years, it won't matter, because the next 45 years will more than make up for it. Now, at the end of the presentation, he brings that down to an agent level. This idea that an agent can look and think and act like that too, right? And he makes a point. Right now, a lot of agents look at the industry and they look at disruption and they fear the idea that they're being replaced. They fear the idea that some of these companies, iBuyers, you name it, are displacing the realtor. And he makes an incredible point that up until I heard him say it, I hadn't really heard any other national figure say. And it was simply this: agents are getting replaced, but they're getting replaced by other agents. They're getting replaced by agents who are smarter, more efficient, by agents with better marketing, better systems, better tools, and better prospecting. In my head, I translated that to teams, because teams that have all those qualities can scale and leverage and grow at massive, massive rates. And this sets the stage for what we're talking about today. You can be smart, you can be great at prospecting, you can do all those things well. But if it's just you, the group that does that with 5 or 10 or 15, 20 people on their team are obviously going to be more effective than you. It doesn't mean you're bad, it doesn't mean you're good. It's just you don't have the scale, you don't have the leverage, you don't have the capacity to grow that fast. Now I'll leave this slide with something that's very, very important. You see Realogy is here. Who's this? That's Home Services of America. That's you, right? We're never in the conversation about coming trends and growing trends and what's the future hold, because we're not sexy. We're just big, we're massive. And what I want to show you today is, if you learn and understand the concepts and principles of A, what made us this big, and B, how these companies are creating leverage to grow this fast, then that's going to transform this column. That's just my humble opinion. And look, you're not in charge of Home Services America. I'm not in charge of it. You're in charge of your team, your production, your goals. It does not mean that you can't take on the principles and concepts, understand the context, and then really, really take off. And so then with that, I want to show you, I took all that, I took what I'd been studying, what I'd learned really, really through a lot of different means, up to and including being included at the CEO development program at Home Services America. And tasked as an office manager, I looked at what I thought was the future of real estate. And I came back and said, the only way I can maintain my position, grow my office, and become and stay as a viable option for my realtors was to help them develop their teams. And I came back, a lot of you know the story, and I asked a group of 10, and 5 took me up on the prospect of helping them grow into $100 million teams. This was a slide from my office meeting in mid-2000. Actually, this was in mid-2019, once we'd started the program. And I flashed up there their year to date. They were the top 5 teams in my office. And then I put this future $100 million sales producer, because they had gone through the training, they had listened to my synopsis and analysis of where the market was going and where they could grow, and they bought into it and they listened. And today, 3 of them are already at or past the $100 million per year production. Danny, I think, will hit it or barely miss it at the end of this year. And then it's honestly Ken, Carol, and I that are trailing and lagging. But we're not going to be left behind. We're going to hit it too. And at this point, I hope I just set the context of what's coming in the future, what's possible, and why and how we did it the first time, and how I'd love to find some of you that want to do it also. And then I promised you, I don't want you to just hear from me at this point. I've done it, I can do it again, but I really wanted to have you hear from people before me and after me that are going to allow this to grow even faster. When I talked about what happened in the 1970s and 80s, I made sure I learned all I could from the people that did that back then. Alon Pinnell, who many of you know, not only the founder of Alon Pinnell Real Estate, which is now part of Compass, there's that consolidation cycle, but who spent time in the last decade with Intero. And when he was here, man, I soaked up every minute I could ever take with him. And I learned so much about how he was one of those innovators in the 70s and 80s that built these small regional or local offices into these ramped up, modeled, consolidated systems that were nationwide. He did it. He was the principal in many of those companies. He was the coach, mentor, trainer of people like Gino Blafari and others that did it after him. And I'm blessed and I'm lucky that he saw enough in me to put a lot of his hours and his knowledge and experience in trying to help me learn how to do it. And I'm fortunate and lucky that he's willing to share what he thinks of me with all of you. From that, you know, a lot of you remember Tom. Tom was our CEO, great friend. And he was that second generation. He learned from the Alon Pinnells and the Gino Blafaris how to build these companies, how to grow them. He was integral in not only taking Intero from its local roots, but to its national roots, up to and including its acquisition with Home Services of America. And again, he's nice enough to share his opinion of me and my abilities and what I'm able to do and what I want to do with a lot of you. And then ultimately and finally is the agents. Those agents that, for whatever reason, and only they know why, sat in those meetings and said, yeah, I believe you. I think you can help me become a $100 million a year producer. You know, Danny Gold is only 2 years into the business. When I told him, I said, you're going to build a massive team and you're going to be one of the biggest agents in the country. And he had his doubts, but he also had faith and he believed. And more importantly, once we started giving him the steps, once we started giving him the process, he ran with it and he built it. And again, today he's gonna get that $100 million spot and more. They're not going to stop. Another person you all know, Keith Long. Again, also someone that was not brand new. He was an experienced agent, But in my opinion, he wasn't getting the right advice, working his ass off. No problem with his effort, no problem with his desire. He just wasn't given the right steps and the right processes to attain the dreams and the goals that he had. When he and I teamed up, I told him, you're going to go to the top. Just listen to what I tell you, go out and execute at a high level, and we'll collaborate all the way up in what I call a virtuous cycle. And again, today, I think he hit 100 million. His team hit 100 million a few weeks ago. He's probably going to blow by 120 million this year. And here's what you need to know. Once these agents, once these teams figure out how to do 100 million, do not kid yourself. All of them are going to set 200 million for a goal next year, right? So you all know these people, from Alon to Tom to Keith to Danny. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to show you exactly how I did it. Call them, email them, have a lunch with them. It's going to be the best $50 you ever spent. And then ask them, is this possible? What were the steps you took? And they'll do a better job from the agent perspective telling you how we achieved it than I can in 10, 15 minutes, right? So I'm going to challenge you to do that. I know who they are. They may freak out if they get 50 calls tonight, but when you ask them, is this possible? Can it be done? Can Robert help me? I know what their answer is going to be, and I'm counting on that, all right? So that's the background. Here's where we are now. I love to teach this little graphic and a lot of the things I do, and it's making sure you understand what an inflection point is. And that's that point when businesses change, when industries change, and we're in one right now. 4 or 5 years ago, I committed to retooling and retraining my agents to build massive teams, because I knew while it wasn't yet that time when it took off, it was coming. And I wanted to get as many of them in place before this inflection point came, which I still think is about a year away when it really, really takes off. But not only they, with our systems and our models and our training, but agents in other companies, teams in other parts of our community have hit and surpassed that $100 million mark. That is not going to stop. That is only going to increase. Once one person does it, a second, a fourth, a fifth, a 10th will happen. Going back to what Mike Del Prete says, those are the teams that are displacing agents. It's not Zillow, it's not iBuyers, it's not Rocket Mortgage creating a discount brokerage. It's agents that have mastered leverage, have mastered the opportunities in front of them, have seen what's possible, and then removed any limitations they thought, and then they go and find the mentors, the coaches, the trainers, the systems, the models that allow them to achieve that, right? So I just gave you like a 50-year history from Alon Pinnell to Gino to Tom to me to that next wave of people that are going to build incredible teams that are going to profit from this coming wave of real estate in the next 30 to 40 to 50 years, right? Nothing I invented, nothing I thought of. I just simply researched it, found it, and then tried to create a way to take advantage of it. All right, so here's the good part. Here's where it's going to get really, really fun. Many of you saw the notices that the Lutzen Cruise Group was part of Place now. Many of you thought that meant we left. The exact opposite. When I showed you that slide of the companies and how they were growing, and I mentioned the one on the far left, the biggest one was us. And the reason those other companies are growing so fast is because they were pickpocketing great Intero agents and teams and offering them things that maybe we couldn't offer, or in the same way or same scale that they could. The reason Ken and Carol and I partnered with Place is because they bring the innovation and the opportunity to do what we did at Silver Creek and what we did with those 5 initial agents at a much larger scale. So in the messages I sent asking you to participate and come on in, I mentioned you're already in the right company. You're already in the right office. You just have to see the opportunity, understand what it means, and decide that you can be a part of it, and decide what scale you want to be a part of it. and then go and find the partners and the mentors and the coaches. I had Alon Pinnell, I had Gino Blafari, I had Tom Tognoli, I had JT, I had so many people. And then when I wanted to go to that next level, I went and found the best trainers, coaches, partners to really help me take advantage of that next level, right? So before I introduce you to Chris Suarez, we'll talk a little bit more about this opportunity to build and grow in this market. I want to first introduce a familiar name to many of you, and that's Chris Stewart, who was with us at Intero and with us at Home Services America, and just recently became the president of Place. And many of you know him. Many of you have understood how successful he was here. And I just wanted to give him the opportunity to say hello to all of you and then introduce Chris Suarez so he can give us a little bit more about this concept and idea of building these massive teams.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you so much, Robert. It's so great to be with you and with all of the attendees. I'm looking through the list of attendees. I see a lot of familiar names. So it's so great to see all of you. For those of you that I haven't met, just a quick background about me. As Robert mentioned, we're all linked from the standpoint of having been a part of Intero. I actually joined in 2008. I was a part of the leadership team. I was the executive vice president and managing director. I had a number of different responsibilities in that role. And when Intero sold to Home Services and became a part of the Berkshire family of companies, I went along with Gino over to the parent organization. And I was actually the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Global Franchise Network. So that was great, and obviously a lot of great experience. So we all come from some very common backgrounds. And as Robert mentioned, I left my role as CEO of Berkshire in May to join as president here at Place. And I'm super excited for what we're doing. I'm super excited to capitalize on the things that Robert so eloquently articulated in terms of the future of the industry and what we can all do together. And I think what's, a couple of things that are critical as you listen to Chris Suarez, and I'll introduce him, and understand the journey that we're on together now with Robert and Kenny and Carol and the rest of our partners is, as you think about, you're sitting on this webinar because obviously you're intent to grow. You're excited about the future of the industry. You're thinking about your career. And I just want you to know that every time myself and our organization presents to you, we present to you from the context of you are fellow CEOs, right? You're the CEOs of your businesses. We're the CEOs and partners in our business. And in that journey, I think it's critical to understand two things. Number one, everything that you want to accomplish in your real estate career has been done. You're not alone, and there has been a trail blazed for you. So really, it's a function of, can I get to where I want to be in my real estate career as a CEO of my business? Can I get there faster, more efficiently, more profitably by surrounding myself with people that have already blazed that trail? Or am I stubborn enough to think that I just got to do all this on my own, right? I think that's really, kind of some pivotal things. So with that, I want to introduce Chris Suarez. Chris is a industry veteran and dynamic coach and public speaker. You see him routinely as a innovator within Inman, a newsmaker within Riz Media, a perennial participant in the real trends and all the other rankings out there. Chris actually founded and built one of the top 50 brokerages in the United States, headquartered in Portland. His firm did in excess of $3 billion in real estate volume, over 8,200 sides just last year. And prior to co-founding Place, Chris had built the number 3 expansion organization in the Keller Williams system worldwide. So Chris, along with many of our other leaders, bring that legacy of success and accomplishment and leadership to what we all do here together as a part of the Place family of companies. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. We call him Stu, just so we don't get confused around our organization. I appreciate you guys having me on. Robert and Chris, both of you I've known now for Robert, gosh, a couple of years now, maybe 3, and have respected you greatly. And now I'm thrilled to call myself a partner with you and Stu as well. Today, guys, I want to just talk a little bit about what Robert was talking about earlier. And my goal today truly is this, is I believe that every single one of us, I actually believe that every single one of my business partners can create on their own what we have created at Place, truly. And it's through sharing our perspective on the industry and the world that allows people to jump in and do it, or potentially partner to get there faster. But Robert asked me to truly just come in and share our perspective and what we believe it takes to be a business owner in the industry of the future. And what are the steps that each one of us as business owners can go through as a real estate agent turned business owner? Like, what do we need to think about and what do we need to take action on as we head into the future? I'm going to share my screen if I could, Robert, just briefly, and sort of begin taking you down a journey of how we look at the industry. Earlier, Robert made the point to make a statement that we believe that the real estate industry has already shifted, that there's this movement towards teams showing up as the choice of the consumer. And gosh, we've been saying that for years. And I'll tell you, it wasn't until this year that that statement has been realer than ever. And this is why. Guys, the Real Trends report came out this year, and right, the Real Trends basically ranks real estate agents. Not like we need another ranking system, but there you have it. We got it. And Real Trends says this: hey, we're going to look at the top 1,000 teams, and we're going to look at the top 1,000 solo agents, and we're going to look at where their business was this year versus the year before. And it was good news across the board. Last year, we saw teams grow, their business grew, whether it be volume, revenue, sides, any one of those, right around 50, 51, 49%, given the number. That's massive, right? Their businesses grew 49, 50%. That was the best teams that the industry had to offer us. And then they looked at the individual agent, and the individual agent had a good year too. Their businesses were up. Their businesses were up 17% over the year before. And keep in mind, this is the best that the industry's got to offer, right? In individual agents versus teams. And I initially thought, well, that's good news for everybody. And then I realized what we believe is happening is absolutely happening. Because if you spreadsheet that out, if you perform that out over time, something is going on in the industry, and more market share and more units and more size and more volume and more revenue is moving to those teams. And it isn't purely because those teams are larger, guys. It's because the consumer is choosing those teams. And I think if we're not careful as an industry, we actually build our businesses backwards. We build our businesses by saying, well, how do I find a buyer? And how do I find a seller? And how do I convert the lead? And how do I close a home? And how do I, instead of actually going to the end and saying, who is our consumer? What does the consumer want? What are they looking for? And then working backwards. And ultimately, this is our perspective on where the industry is going. We look at every single one of our partners. We look at every single one of those team owners' businesses. We call them operators of businesses. And we say, we got this industry a little bit backwards. You see, there's a group of people that are beginning to get real worried about commission reduction, right? And downward pressure on revenue. And actually, that's only because as an industry, we have said that's the only thing that matters. We have said that when you close a home, you get a check. And we have forgotten that our industry is attached to more consumer spending than any industry in the country. 60+% of all consumer spending is related to the home. And we took a step back one day and woke up and realized, well, we're only connected to one small part of it. And because of that, we're stressed out when an industry disruptor or when technology steps in and says, hey, we can do this for less money. But that's only because that's our revenue stream. We envision our world and we've built a platform. And I actually believe that each of us has to take a step back and say, hey, am I building for the future? And we believe the consumer will always choose a professional. That professional has to be powered by technology, but the consumer doesn't want to make decisions around buying and selling and financing and title and insurance and property management and home improvement. And yet every one of those is a billion or trillion dollar industry on its own. And so the only reason why you've seen these new players come into our industry is because of opportunity. And it's opportunity that each one of us have. And actually opportunity that each one of us have to take a step back and say, hey, am I delivering this opportunity to the agents that are my consumers, the buyer's agent on my team, the listing agent on my team, the partner agent on my team, the operators of my teams? Like this opportunity on the right-hand side of your screen is the streams of revenue that each of us has to see us being part of in the future. We believe that the consumer will always go to a professional. And if it's the right professional, they'll be able to affect behavioral change in the consumer to drive decision-making around when to sell, when to buy, how to finance, where to get title, where insurance is coming from, right? Alarming a home, securing a home, internet for a home, managing a home, buying, maintaining that home. That is our opportunity. So I take a step back as a business owner, as a team owner, as an operator of a business and say, well, I better build a platform for that. Like my business model, we think we're in sales, but we're in systems, tools, and models. Like this is a service industry more than anything. And so we believe that every business owner, every real estate agent has to take a step back and say, hey, if I'm going to build a team, then my value to the industry, my value to the agents that the consumer is going to interact with is the platform. And around that platform, you'll see we need to provide simple solutions to complex problems. I wake up every day and I say, gosh, if I could just provide simple solutions to complex problems for the consumer, then I'll never have a problem with finding leads. I'll never have a problem with having a buyer or having a seller. I'll never have a problem, interestingly enough, when my world switches and my consumer becomes not the buyer or seller, but many of you already are running massive organizations and your consumer or your customer is a real estate agent. And so take a step back and realize that Jeff Bezos has always said at Amazon that, we have to build with the consumer in mind and then work backwards. So as a business owner, as an operator, we need simple solutions to the complex problem called lead generation and lead conversion. We need simple solutions to the complex problem called talent acquisition and attraction, the complex problem called human resources and the legal parts of our business, the financial part of our business, the marketing part of our business, the technology platform that we're plugging into, and the training and coaching of our people once we attract them. These are sort of the pillars of any real estate business. So if you're taking notes and saying, well, how do I begin building that $100 million team? It's creating simple solutions, replicatable, duplicatable, expandable solutions around these pillars. And here's what I woke up and realized one day. It's no different than what Jeff Bezos did at Amazon. See, he woke up and said, hey, I'm going to create a very simple solution to a complex problem called a shopping habit. And all of us had that habit. So he had a very big TAM, right? He had a total addressable market of like every human alive. And he just said, well, what's the simplest solution I can create? And every day he has woken up for a decade and a half and said, let's make it simpler. Let's make it simpler. And guess what? He doesn't have to ask us twice to come and work with his company, does he? No, we run. It's interesting. A few years ago, it'd be interesting to get a show of hands of how many people on the call are Prime customers, right? Amazon Prime customers. I would venture to guess about 95% of, I was going to say you, but I am too. So 95% of us are. A couple of years ago, the price went up, right? Your membership fee went up. What did it go up by? Do you know? Put it in the chat. What did your membership fee go up by? Heck, most of us don't even know what it was. Like, it doesn't matter because the value is there. Like, whether it went up from 20 bucks to 40 bucks, 50 bucks to 70 bucks, 80 bucks to 125 bucks, it didn't matter. Who quit? Like, who canceled their Prime membership when your membership went up a couple of years ago? Nobody. Like very few people. In fact, in one day, that change in membership made Amazon $1 billion. Why? Simple solution to a complex problem called shopping. Guys, our business is no different. Like, Stu and Chris and Robert earlier said, everything's been done in this industry. It really is about learning from those that have been in this industry well longer than I have and other people have, and then actually going outside of the industry and saying, hey, how do we bring that to our industry? So this is the basis of the platform that we need to create. And then once we do, we actually need to build out the value proposition. Each one of us needs to know, why would someone consider joining your organization, your team, your business? See, in our world, we believe it comes down to 4 things. We believe it comes down to money, right? People want to be part of something to increase profit. How do we increase profit? Oftentimes by lowering expenses. People want to be part of something that's going to allow them to be more productive. So we say, hey, you're going to do more business. More than time and production, oftentimes, or money in production, is people want time. So we say, hey, being part of our organization, we're going to be able to give you more time. And then it's interesting. Robert, you shared sort of the movers or the greatest gains in units and sides and volume in our industry. And you know what that movement is based on? You know what that attraction is based on? You know what agent count growth has been based on for most companies, which I look at you guys as companies, has been opportunity. People love opportunity. In fact, talent shows up for opportunity. So I asked myself as a business owner, as a team owner, right? As I was starting in Portland, Oregon, I said, well, how do I make people more profitable? How do I make them more productive? What systems and tools and models will make them more productive? How do I make sure they live experientially, that they have time to actually spend the money that they're making in their business, which is largely part of our problem? And then how do I make sure I build an opportunity model such that it will be attractive to agents in the industry? And here's what we came up with. I believe every business owner, every real estate agent needs to build out what their model is for the top of the funnel, right? This is that agent lead gen model. And this is a quick snapshot of pieces of our business that we're openly sharing. And we say everybody has a lead generation wheel. And we believe that by purely their activities, doing it in a systematic way, in a consistent way, with systems, tools, and models, they should easily be able to do 1 to 2 deals a month, right? That's going to come from sphere models and open house models and prospecting models. We have every one of our agents choose something that they like to do. Maybe they're good at FSBOs or expires, or maybe they're good at door knocking or circle prospecting, or maybe they're good with investors. Right? To me, my obligation and job is to provide a system for any type of lead gen, plug that into the prospecting section of the wheel, develop a system for open houses, which many of you know, like that was how I started my business, and then making sure that sphere part of the wheel is dialed. Well, on the other side of the wheel is the business, right? Generating business for our partners, making that simple through internet lead gen and conversion, through leads that are coming from the listings that we procure, and then also our business setting appointments. So that's a quick snapshot of when I'm sitting down with an agent and saying, hey, this is the value from the leads perspective. But here's what I know. As agents generate leads or are given leads and get into production, what typically provides or prevents them from driving production or getting consistent is leverage. And so in our organization, we said, hey, we need to build out a leverage model for our agents and an opportunity model. In fact, one of the things that our industry has done a poor job at coaching and training and teaching is leverage itself. And so part of our model in our organization on every single team is a leverage model for every single agent, whereby when they're doing 1 to 2 deals a month, they get to do what we call stay. Like you can stay as part of our organization. And when they cross over that and begin to do 3 deals a month, right, we step in and we help them hire a showing assistant and train how to use that showing assistant. Really leverage is a learned skill. And then ultimately that showing assistant should allow them to increase their production. And the next hire is an admin, right? And the next hire is a full-time assistant, and the next hire. And so this leverage model moves them through a productivity model, but also at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that as they grow in production, we put them on a wealth building journey as well, whereby every single one of our teams and our organization as a whole has revenue sharing, and we have real estate investments that we make with our partners as they hit production levels, and then we have opportunities that you'll see in a minute through our organization because of our opportunity model. This one was a game changer for us, guys. And I think many of us have either started teams or opted out of teams, or sort of, they've self-imploded. And that's because our top people leave. And I'm not going to lie, everybody will have that happen. Largely, the reason why that happens is because we don't have a clear path for our best people to grow. In fact, one day they're going to look at you, Robert, and you, Chris, and everybody, and say, well, gosh, but I want to be you, right? Like I appreciate the mentorship and I appreciate the journey, but I want to be you now. Like I feel like I know what I need to know to be you. And so we've built these businesses whereby they have to leave us to be us. And so we took a step back and I said, well, how do we fix this problem? And it's because we didn't have an opportunity model for them. We didn't have a path whereby they started out in the organization as an agent and they grew into becoming an associate. And there were benefits to being an associate, as you can see on the screen. We built out this benefit plan for our associates. And then once they start hitting our expectation of being able to do 2 deals a month, they become a partner on the team, in the business, in the firm, if you will. And by being a partner, they have an equity purchase plan in their business, and they have healthcare, which gosh, that's been a problem that our industry has yet to solve until today. And I don't mean group healthcare. We created a model whereby they get executive level subsidized healthcare. In fact, better healthcare that I had on my own, that our agents have today, based on them earning the right to step into that. And every agent on every team across our network now has the ability to do that because they are a partner in the business. And then the leverage model opens up to them. And then as they grow, right, they become a senior partner once they're doing 49 plus units a year. And guys, we'll have 70, 80 agents across our network that become senior partners this year. And then investing opportunities open up to them, and they become coaches within our organization. And then they have another step up in the opportunity model, and they become a managing partner whereby they've done 100 units. And guess what, guys? We'll launch 9 potentially new locations of team members that grew up within an organization on a team just like yours. And they become managing partners. And now they're business partners with you, launching a new location, having a profit share in that location. And see, the industry in the past has sort of held that to our chest and said, well, gosh, that doesn't work. How do we do that? And then I looked around and I said, well, I don't own a business by myself. Every business that I own, I have a partner in. And it's by opening my eyes to the value of partnerships that my business has grown. And so now we're teaching our operators or our team leads to form partnerships in their locations as their agents are growing. We'll launch a couple in Portland. These are agents that have been on the team for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they're hitting 100 units. They're making a $250,000 to $300,000 net profit on a team. Why? Because of our lead gen model, because of our leverage model, and then because of our opportunity model. And then ultimately they have the opportunity to become an equity partner where they're generating a certain amount of money in GCI such that should they ever want to tap out and sell their business, they could. They have a tangible asset, which again has been a hole in our industry and our business. So I won't get too deep there, and Robert can explain that opportunity model offline as well. But what I wanted to show is, as a business owner, we just need to think differently. See, in the past, we were real estate agents and brokerages were brokerages, and we worked within that. I believe that brokerage is incredibly important. I believe that the brokerage is the neighborhood in which we choose to live. So many of you have chosen the best neighborhood in your community is in Terra. And that's awesome. That's your neighborhood. You choose it. There's pride in that neighborhood. And I say, I don't want you to ever leave that neighborhood. Like, I love my neighborhood. You love your neighborhood. Now let's build the house the right way in the neighborhood. So what Place does is well, we have an engineer for you to use, and we have an architect for you to use, and we have a designer that wow, you're going to love, and use this contractor and use these materials when you build. See, the neighborhood is the brokerage, and Place, that platform, is how we build our house. And we have to build our house with, I believe, 6 key value propositions. With Place or without, guys. Like this value proposition can be screenshotted and copied and duplicated. But I believe that agents, if you're going to build a business, agents are looking for community. We have to have a tangible community for them to plug into. Agents are looking for leverage. You have to have a tangible path for them to gain leverage and not have to leave your team for the right leverage. I believe that growth-minded individuals are looking for training and coaching. And that's training on how to use leverage. It's training on how to hire. It's training how to be more productive. It's training on time management and time multiplication. It's training on health. It's coaching on experiential living. Like, it's holistic coaching and training. And then 4, 5, and 6 is on the screen. And I'm a firm believer that we have to own our technology. We have to have a technology stack that our agents and our businesses can plug into, where the consumer can come as well, and the agent can come as well, and they can interact in the right way. Now, exposure and marketing is critical in our business, just like any business. And so that has to be part of our value proposition for our people as well. And then I think what agents really are looking for is they need to know that you have a proven track record. And sometimes, guys, track record becomes, well, I've sold a lot of houses, or I'm number 1 or number 2 or number 3. For me, track record means a specific activity will lead to a specific result. And we have to build a business model where Robert can say, well, I want to do 100 million. And John says, I want to do 100 million. And T says, I want to do 100 million. And we can say, well, this is the specific activities that you need to do. This is your lead gen model, and this is your talent attraction model, and this is your technology model, and this is your financial model, and this is your, and if you follow the model, guess what it'll do? It'll deliver specific results. And so as we show them that track record, then we just say, hey, there's a commitment. There's a commitment to do certain activities. There's a commitment to improve our knowledge base. There's a commitment to productivity, and there's a commitment to participate at a high level. See, you can build the most amazing business, right? And you can coach and you can consult and you can collaborate, but if you can't gain commitment to a specific set of activities, well then, and a certain model and a certain set of tools, then we're going to all have different results. And that is what historically has been the most difficult for even brokerages. See, brokerages have incredible systems and tools and models, and yet each agent that shows up has a different level of commitment. The beauty for you as a business owner is you get to control that commitment level. You get to control who you get into business with in a curated platform, and what commitment level they're going to show up with to deliver those systems and tools and models. But remember, and I'll leave you guys with this, at a certain point in time, today, you might be thinking, my consumer is the buyer and seller. Awesome. That is your customer. Think about what they want and work backwards. And remember, at a certain point in time, you're going to flip that and say, hey, my consumer, my customer is actually not the buyer and seller. It always will be to some degree, but in the business that you're building today, your customer and consumer is the real estate professional that consumer is going to go to. And we have to give as much energy and as much effort and as much financial obligation and commitment to developing a simple solution to a complex problem for the real estate agent, for the operator of the business, for that individual that wants to build a business within your business, as we put towards the buyer and the seller and the lead. And when you do that, no one questions what they're paying on Amazon Prime. Why? It's a simple solution. We pay nicely for a simple solution to a complex problem. And what we believe at Place is we need to create that one place where agents can come and consumers can come for simple solutions to complex problems, called buying real estate, selling real estate, investing in real estate, managing real estate, maintaining real estate, financing real estate, insuring real estate. That consumer spending in the industry that many of us have fallen into is the greatest opportunity in our country. And we happen to be poised and sitting in the middle of it, and stay connected to sort of the thinkers of the industry, like the Roberts of the world and the Chris Stewarts of the world, because those thinkers will help us build for the future. Cool. All right, Robert, that's what I got for you today.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you so much. I mean, it's powerful stuff. It's just bringing me back to the journey I've taken for the last 2.5+ years with Kenny and Carol. And I see a lot of agents that took that journey, my original journey at Silver Creek from 2010 to 2019. You guys have an advantage. You guys have heard things today that I told all of you in 2012, 15, 17, that would happen in our industry. So you have an advantage over some of the others on the call, that you have a history with me of, I do my homework. I spend hours researching and looking at where the puck is going to go. And a lot of you have benefited from that. And I'll finish with this. The way I see my role in leadership is I would never ask anyone to do something that I'm not going to do. And when I was introduced to the concept of building these agents and then doing it and actually seeing it happen, I was a very successful office manager. I had a very comfortable role. I was easy. I had a path. I could see a future where I was going to make 250, 300, 350,000 every single year. But because what the things that I saw happening in the industry, the way I felt the industry would go, I said, there is no safety in middle management. There is a better way, and I will be displaced by team leaders that do things better than I can as a manager. Putting my money where my mouth is, I stepped down from that role. And I said, I'm going to go and find the person that can help me and show me how to do it, just like you as a producer. Losing all the benefits and all the safety of a cushy senior vice president or regional vice president role with the best company in the industry, in my opinion. That's how much I believed it. And then we went on a search and we found Chris Suarez. And I told him, and I said, I think I had the capacity to build it myself. But the choice in front of me is, can I do it fast enough and well enough? Or, like I've always done in my career, find the mentors, find the models, and build into it. And when we met Chris, we said, we're in. I don't care how long it's going to take for us to get in partnership with you, Chris, but we're in. And so I want to leave you with this. Again, go and talk to the people that have worked with me closely, directly, day to day, where I've told them, tell me what your dreams and your goals are, and I will help you achieve them. And that's what I'm promising you today. So you're going to have a choice after this meeting. Are you committed to building a business of the future, or are you okay with where you are? Both are acceptable answers. But if you're committed to build the business of the future that can take advantage of what is coming and what's available now, are you going to do it on your own? You are all capable of doing it on your own. Or will you take the choice that I took of, I'm going to supercharge, I'm going to speed up the process, I'm going to find the partners that'll give me the playbook now. Again, I had demonstrated, I grew an office from in the black to 800 million sales operation. I grew these individual agents, some of them brand new, into these $100 million producers. And then now what I find is I can stay at home, that home being in Terrell. I can stay and build alongside those of you that I've worked with for over a decade, some of you have never met me, but committed to doing this thing that I see coming. And I'm just so excited. So you're not going to make a bad choice. You're already a great company. You're already achieving some level of success on your own. I'm just trying to mess your mind up and show you some crazy possibilities and have you go home and say, is it true? Is it possible? Do some homework, do some research, ask the people that have done it before, that I've helped do, those that have trained me, that have said, Robert is one of the best minds, best brokers in the country, right? I'm not comfortable with bragging like that, but I feel strongly enough of the opportunity in front of you that I have to share that. And then just those of us who are in alignment, those of us who are in agreement, those of us that don't see limitations, let's work together. That's all I have for you today.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to do one more thing, and I mean this. I'm going to put my cell phone in the chat as well, and I'll share that openly. I am always open to a conversation with anyone in the industry, anything I can do. And I want to reiterate, I know I see the chat. From my perspective, I'm a firm believer that there is value in any brokerage. Truly, that is a choice that we each make based on the neighborhood that we want to live in and sort of raise our kids in, right? Build our businesses within. And I don't see company lines. I really don't. So anything that we all can do to help each other and co-op in the industry, our industry will get better. I'm also a firm believer that there are 2 million real estate agents out there, and the majority of those will be on teams. And I hope teams with every one of you. And that's because the consumer needs a different experience than the industry has taught us to give them. And that is what drives me every single day. Like, I look at that and say, the industry is going to shift and change and adjust. We will be out ahead of it. We will be behind it, or we won't be in it. So keep that in mind as you look at the path that you're on. But anything I can do to help, by all means, shoot me a text, reach out. My cell phone is there. I'm happy to help. You guys have an incredible mentor in your midst, in Robert, from the day that I met him, and Carol and Kenny a few years back. I think we were in Dallas together, and he's right. He said, hey, we're going to be in business one day together, and we didn't know what that was going to look like. We were at different companies, and guess what? It doesn't matter. We figured out a way, and I'm a firm believer that there is power in partnerships, and it's not weakness. In the past, our industry has said, hey, partnerships or teams it's like, well, I couldn't make it, or I couldn't do it on your own. I promise you, I wouldn't be in business with anybody that couldn't do it on their own. It is what we can accomplish together that is the real win in partnership. So again, reach out anytime I can help. Robert, I appreciate you having me on with this awesome group, and we'll talk soon.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Robert. Hey, buddy, you're on mute.
Oh, I was on mute. I say thank you, Chris and Chris Stewart, and thank all of you who took an hour of your time, trusting enough in an idea, a concept, and hopefully knowing a little bit about our background. And so I just leave you. Go home and dream tonight. Go home and think as big as you possibly can think, and then create a roadmap, and then figure out, are you going to do that on your own, or are you going to do that with help? Both are right answers. I'm here with you at Intero. I'm in Cupertino. It doesn't matter what office you're in. You don't have to move. You can do it, and we're here to help. All right, so I'll leave you. Thank you so much. Thank you to Ken and Carol, who are kind of in the background here, but also an important part of what we're doing. And go have a great day, Intero.